I've seen people celebrating when uh, we have a Kenyan who is rushing completely to the president. And when we have a problem like a presidential assassination, most of these things normally affects the country completely. Because if you can imagine if the president, if somebody is able to reach the president, then it already means that even you, as a fellow Kenyan, you are not safe at all. So mostly, we are having countries whereby the presidents were assassinated, and in these countries, they have never recovered until today. So I'll just look at a few. The very first one was Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso. He was assassinated in 1987. Now, this guy, he had made his country to be self-reliant, self-sufficient. There was food, there was everything there. Like these countries were able to uh, sustain itself in just a period of 4 years when he was ruling. But then now, people looked around and they say, no, this guy, the way he's going, we just have people who do not like when you are doing a good thing. So they planned and they assassinated him. And another person by the name Blaise, I don't know how to pronounce this, whether I call it Compaore or Compaore, whatever. So Blaise Compaore took over. And when he took over the country, he ruled for a total of 27 years. But then when you check Burkina Faso during the rule of Blaise, it was nothing because there was absolutely nothing. There was a lot of political vacuum that was created eventually. And this guy ruled for a total of 27 years up to 2014. And we can see there was a lot of insecurity, there was a jihad insurgencies, there was also repetitive military coups that plague Burkina Faso today. So you can see it is because of that very first presidential assassination that made this country to suffer until today. Another country that faced the presidential assassination is Patrice Lumumba of Democratic Republic of Congo. He was assassinated in 1961. And when he was assassinated, this other person called Mobutu Sese Seko came and took over. And Mobutu ruled for a period of 32 years. He was a dictator. You couldn't tell him anything. And you can see that the instability that followed Mobutu's eventual fall led to the First and the Second Congo Wars. Because once he fell, because of the way he was running the country, it also led to some other war, the First and the Second Congo Wars, which caused millions of deaths of people. So today, despite possessing trillions of dollars worth of mineral wealth like cobalt and coltan, the DRC remains one of the least developed countries globally due to the chronic institutional collapse triggered by that original 1961 fracture. So you see, they have never healed from that problem. From the very first time when their president was assassinated in 1961, they have never healed from it. Despite the fact that they are having a lot of minerals, these countries have never healed. Another country is Togo, where we have Sylvanus Olympio, who was assassinated in 1963. So he was the first president of an independent African nation to be assassinated during a military coup. He had actively resisted French monetary dominance and was attempting to establish an independent Togolese currency to break away from the CFA franc. So his killing effectively terrified other Francophone African leaders into compliance with the French economic policies. So in Togo, it paved the way for Ganasibe Eyadema to take over in 1967. So Eyadema ruled for 38 years. You can see that the person who is taking over after the presidential assassination does not only rule for 5 years, because you see, the country is totally unstable once a president has been assassinated. So this person does not just take over and then he rules maybe for 2 or 3 years. No, he's ruling for very many years. So we are talking about this is for 38 years somebody is ruling. So when he died in 2005, his son, who is now Faure Ganasibe, took power and remains in office until today. So you can see countries like that. So you should not, as Kenyan, you should not take this presidential assassination as something that is just okay. And you see, when I see some of the things, especially online, people are very okay with the civilians just running to the president. I do not really like it. It's about protecting the president. You might hate President William Ruto, yes. You might hate him because of what he has done. You might hate him because he has maybe increased the price of fuel. Maybe he has increased the taxes and all of that. But you should not hate him to the extent of wishing that he be assassinated, because that one alone, that one alone, it will plunge this country into chaos that you will not like it. Because, despite the fact that you hate him, there are those who love him. And so there will be a fight between those who love him and those who hate him, which will make this country to lack democracy, and that is something which we are not really ready for it. Another country that we are looking at is Burundi, where we have Ndadaye, who was assassinated in 1993. So he was the Burundi's first democratically elected president and the first from the Hutu majority. I believe you know the story of the Hutu and the Tutsi. He was assassinated by the Hada and Tutsi military officers just 3 months after taking office. So his assassination instantly shattered any hopes of a peaceful democratic transition and sparked the horrific 12-year Burundian war. You can see the civil war that was in Burundi for a period of 12 years. So which claimed an estimated 300,000 lives. So the conflict entirely destroyed the country's economic foundation, scared off foreign investment, and crippled agricultural production. So Burundi is still recovering from the economic devastation of that war, consistently ranking among the poorest nations in terms of GDP per capita, with development severely stunted by decades of deep-seated ethnic mistrust and fragile governance. So you can see a country like Burundi, it has never healed from that assassination that happened in 1933. And you can see the number of people that dies right after the president has been assassinated. So it is not something that we are really ready as a country. So when we are looking at when you are looking at the countries that, these are just some of the countries that have been assassinated and where their president has been assassinated. So when you look at that, it is not something that you can really enjoy. It's not something that you can feel comfortable that is your president can just go through. It's not. So let us stop entertaining this mediocrity that I'm hearing here online.